People think prices rise because things get expensive. They don't. Prices rise because someone, somewhere, finds a new way to control what others need. This morning, Wanda saw it happen. A small price tag changed, just 50 cents. But behind that number was power shifting hands. Someone raised the rent. Someone decided that every cup, every cart, every worker would now pay a little more, not for better coffee, but for permission to exist. That's how markets move. Not by effort, but by leverage. And most people never notice it happen. But Wanda noticed. She saw the pattern behind the price. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. In that moment, she realized something simple and dangerous. The economy isn't built on supply and demand. It's built on access and control. That thought would change her life. It would create her company. And it would drag her straight into the kind of war most people never know exists. The quiet war for who gets to profit from what we all need. Business lesson: every price hides a story. The winners aren't always the hardest workers. They're the ones who own the gate. That's where Wanda's story begins. Not with ambition, but with a question. Who really sets the price, and why? Wanda didn't set out to challenge a system. She just wanted to build something that worked. Something that helped small businesses move goods faster, without being crushed by middlemen. So she built WandaCart. A simple idea, powered by smart code. Connect neighborhood shops with freelance drivers and unused vans. No big warehouses. No corporate layers. Just efficiency, person to person, street to street. Theo handled the tech, precise, calm, addicted to clean data. Wanda handled everything else. Messy, fast, unpredictable. Together, they made something real. Orders started rolling in. Shop owners loved it. Drivers signed up faster than expected. Investors called. Growth was instant, maybe too instant. But when numbers grow, so do shadows. Behind every transaction, a few strange fees appeared. Access permits. Delivery surcharges. Unexpected urban zone costs no one could explain. Theo said it was just part of scaling. Wanda wasn't so sure. The math didn't add up. Every new route, every new driver, every new block seemed to come with another invisible price tag. Business lesson: when you start scaling, you don't just meet demand. You meet the people who profit from your access to it. Within weeks, margins began to thin. Not because of poor planning, but because someone, somewhere, was collecting rent, and not the kind you pay for an office. Wanda stared at the dashboard late one night. Revenues up. Profits down. The curve made no sense. Theo shrugged. That's just how cities work. But Wanda had seen that pattern before. It started with a 50-cent coffee. Now, it was happening to her. She leaned back, eyes fixed on the glowing numbers. Something unseen was moving money out of her business. And she intended to find it. Business lesson: growth hides inefficiency. The faster you expand, the more invisible hands will reach for a share. Wanda didn't know it yet, but she had just stepped into the real game. The game where success isn't about who works hardest, but about who understands what really costs what. Wanda's first instinct was to look for an error in the data. Maybe a wrong formula, maybe a software bug. But the numbers were consistent, too consistent to be random. Every delivery into the downtown core carried an extra cost. Small at first, then doubling within a month. She traced invoices, payment trails, and driver reports. Every path led to the same name, buried deep in the billing chain. It wasn't a department or a government office. It was a single private company no one seemed to question. She followed the trail. At the top was a man who didn't run trucks, didn't own warehouses, and didn't deliver a single package. Yet his signature appeared on every permit that allowed movement through the most valuable routes in the city. That's when Wanda realized what was really happening. Someone had quietly built a toll booth in the middle of the supply chain. Everyone paid, because no one thought they had a choice. It wasn't illegal. It was designed that way, efficient, discreet, invisible to the untrained eye. The kind of business that thrives when others are too busy working to ask questions. She studied his network like a crime map. Small offices managing access zones, subcontractors handling passes, city officials approving forms they barely read. A clean, silent hierarchy that skimmed a fraction off every load that moved. That fraction was WandaCart's missing profit. It wasn't lost, it was captured. The system rewarded control, not contribution. Business lesson: when a business model depends on movement, someone will eventually charge rent on motion itself. Wanda felt the frustration harden into focus. It wasn't enough to complain. She had to understand the leverage. Why people paid. How the broker kept his grip. And what would happen if someone like her learned to move without his permission. She looked over the map she'd built. Red lines for blocked zones, green for open routes, black for the ones that changed overnight. The pattern was beautiful in a ruthless way, a design meant to keep small operators small. That night, she began sketching alternatives. Parallel routes. Shared access points. Maybe even a cooperative license fund for independent drivers. Nothing certain yet, but an idea was forming. If control was the problem, transparency might be the weapon. For the first time since the launch, Wanda felt the sharp thrill of a new direction. This wasn't just about making deliveries faster anymore. It was about rewriting the terms of who gets to move and who has to pay. And deep down, she knew the broker had noticed her digging. In markets like this, curiosity is never free. The broker wasn't the only shadow in the system. While Wanda tried to untangle the permit maze, something else started moving beneath her numbers. Sales were steady, but revenue curves began to flatten. Within days, a competitor emerged, an app no one had heard of, mirroring WandaCart's prices almost to the cent. Theo noticed it first. Every time WandaCart adjusted delivery rates, the rival changed theirs within minutes. No delay, no guessing. Just perfect imitation. Wanda studied both dashboards side by side. The rival's interface looked suspiciously familiar. Clean layouts, identical surge logic, even the same discount triggers. It was as if someone had stolen not just their customers, but their strategy. But theft wasn't the right word. It was replication. Someone, somewhere, had access to WandaCart's data stream. They weren't competing. They were mirroring. Business lesson: in a digital market, the first product isn't the most valuable asset. The real power lies in the data that predicts behavior. Theo ran traces across their servers. No obvious breach. No exposed API keys. Just a steady flow of clean metrics, until a pattern appeared. A third-party analytics firm they'd hired months earlier was quietly aggregating operational data. It wasn't illegal, just shared insights, as the contract called it. But those insights were being resold. That's when Wanda understood what she was really fighting. Not brokers with permits. Not rivals with trucks. But information traders, the invisible middlemen of the digital age. Data was the new form of rent. And every click, every route, every transaction was a toll. She needed help, someone who could read numbers the way a detective reads footprints. That's when Mara entered the picture. An analyst with the kind of mind that saw logic where others saw noise. Wanda had met her once at a logistics seminar. She spoke in probabilities, not opinions. Mara didn't ask for a job title. She asked for access. Within hours, she had built a visual map of WandaCart's pricing signals. Colored nodes pulsed on the screen, green for WandaCart, red for the rival. Every movement mirrored perfectly, like a heartbeat synced to a pulse. Business lesson: data moves faster than competition. If you don't protect information, you're not running a business. You're feeding someone else's algorithm. Wanda watched as Mara connected the dots. The rival wasn't stealing customers. They were training themselves on WandaCart's behavior. Every reaction Wanda made taught them how to respond faster. She was, unknowingly, building their playbook. The realization was chilling. She wasn't just being copied, she was being studied. That night, Wanda saved a copy of Mara's model and sat alone in the glow of the monitor. Her reflection looked tired but sharper than ever. This wasn't about competition anymore. It was about surveillance disguised as innovation. She whispered to herself, as if setting a reminder for the future. If they can read us, we need to learn how to read them back. And with that, Wanda's battle moved from the streets to the screen, from delivery routes to data streams, and the invisible war for control had officially gone digital. Wanda needed a new hub. Deliveries were doubling every month, and renting scattered garages no longer worked. She found an industrial block on the city's east edge. Perfect access, good size, right zoning. The owner told her it would be sold through a public auction. Transparent. Competitive. Fair. That word, fair, still meant something to her then. The auction hall was sleek, polished, and oddly quiet. Rows of bidders sat behind laptops, their numbers flashing on a central screen. Every property came and went like a stock ticker, bids rising fast, ending higher than logic allowed. When Wanda's lot appeared, she calculated the reasonable ceiling, then watched as the price jumped past it within seconds. 3 bidders, none she recognized, kept trading offers like a choreographed dance. She waited for one to pull back. None did. Until the property reached a number that made no sense for logistics. Then, suddenly, silence. The hammer fell. Not to her. To a company she couldn't find in any registry. She left the hall uneasy. Something about the rhythm felt rehearsed. Predictable, mechanical, wrong. Business lesson. In markets designed to reveal value, patterns of behavior often reveal manipulation instead. That night she called up public records. The winner company had no warehouse operations, no fleet, no staff. A shell. And the same shell had 4 other listings that week. Each time, prices had climbed far above market and stopped just before the point of absurdity. Wanda mapped them one by one. The pattern was clean. Inflate, withdraw, repeat. A silent choreography to raise the bar for everyone else. Small bidders were priced out, forced to lease from the same handful of holding firms that ran the auction floor. It wasn't illegal. It was engineering. The rules allowed it because the rules were written by people who benefited from it. She leaned back in her chair, staring at the list of names that kept appearing on every document. They weren't entrepreneurs. They were toll collectors disguised as competitors. Business lesson: if you can't outbid the system, study who profits when you lose. Wanda felt that old mix of frustration and focus returning. The broker had controlled the streets. Now these firms controlled the walls around them. Different faces, same mechanism, turned scarcity into income. She wasn't going to outspend them. She would have to outdesign them. If auctions could be rigged, then maybe markets could be redesigned too. And as she closed her laptop, a new realization surfaced. The problem wasn't greed, it was structure. Change the structure, and power shifts hands. Leave it alone, and the same few always win. The slow squeeze had a name now. Wanda wrote it across the whiteboard in big letters: controlled competition. She underlined it twice, because understanding the pattern was the first move toward breaking it. The week began with news Wanda didn't want to read. A national retailer had just signed an exclusive partnership with her biggest rival. Every contract WandaCart had been chasing downtown suddenly froze. Same clients. Same proposals. Now locked behind someone else's signature. For a few hours, the office felt silent in that heavy way only disappointment can make it. Theo looked at the projections. The numbers didn't collapse, but they bent. Every plan for expansion, every forecast, now needed rewriting. Wanda didn't panic. She'd seen enough to know that markets never stay fair for long. When the gates close, you find a new door. Business lesson: strategy isn't always about beating the leader. Sometimes it's about changing the field where the game is played. That afternoon, she and Mara drove through the outer neighborhoods, the ones no analyst charted, where streets narrowed and brand trucks rarely entered. Here, stores still relied on phone calls and handwritten ledgers. They didn't care about high-tech apps or dashboards. They just wanted goods that arrived on time, without the fees that made profit disappear. Mara took notes as they moved through each block. Lower volumes. Shorter routes. But loyal customers who paid fast and stayed long. Hidden value, sitting in plain sight. Back at the office, Wanda pinned a new map on the wall. She circled these districts in blue. Each one ignored by the major platforms, each one perfect for a lighter, faster, cheaper model. They called it WandaCart Local. Fewer vans. Flexible schedules. A digital platform that worked on low-data phones and didn't require a full-time subscription. Within 2 weeks, word spread through the smaller shops. Sign-ups trickled in, then surged. Local merchants treated the new service less like a tech tool and more like a partner. Margins were thinner, but stability grew. Volume wasn't the victory, it was loyalty. Business lesson: niche markets aren't small, they're focused. The crowd chases scale, but strength often hides in specialization. While the city's center buzzed with big deals and bigger names, WandaCart grew quietly in the shadows. And the irony wasn't lost on her. By moving away from the spotlight, she'd found space to breathe again. Late one night, as she reviewed the delivery heat maps, she noticed something strange. The outer zones that had been gray for months now glowed with activity. Drivers were earning steadily, merchants were reordering, and complaints were almost zero. It wasn't just a recovery. It was a pivot with purpose. The move had changed more than their business plan. It had changed Wanda's mindset. She no longer wanted to win downtown. She wanted to build a system that no one could lock her out of again. And as the night skyline blinked outside her office window, she wrote a single sentence across the whiteboard: "We serve the streets they forgot." It wasn't just a slogan. It was a declaration. The kind that turns survival into strategy. Growth never lasts without change. A few months into WandaCart's expansion, the City Council announced a new policy: a clean air surcharge on every fuel-based delivery vehicle. It sounded noble, wrapped in environmental language, but to small operators, it felt like a fresh tax on survival. Theo ran the numbers that morning. The surcharge would cut into their fragile margins. Every van on the road now carried an invisible cost per mile, and WandaCart's low-cost model was suddenly at risk. Most founders would have fought it, petitioned it, or called it unfair. Wanda didn't. She'd learned something about systems by now. If a rule changes, you don't complain. You adapt faster than anyone else. Business lesson: regulation isn't always punishment. Sometimes it's a hidden invitation to innovate before others notice the opening. She called a meeting and laid out a single sentence at the top of the whiteboard: deliver clean, deliver smarter. Instead of big vans, she proposed electric cargo bikes for dense urban zones. Cheaper, faster, and fully exempt from the surcharge. Microhubs could replace large warehouses, tiny distribution points within walking distance of the busiest streets. Theo hesitated. It sounded risky, untested, complicated. But Wanda had already moved on to logistics diagrams and potential pilot partners. She wasn't reacting anymore. She was designing. Within weeks, they had a prototype network, electric bikes branded with the WandaCart logo, zipping quietly through narrow lanes while fuel vans idled in traffic. Delivery times dropped by nearly half. Costs followed. And for the first time since launch, they weren't playing defense. They were ahead of the curve. Business lesson: when the environment changes, winners are those who redesign their model around the new constraint, not against it. The city's new policy had forced Wanda to evolve, but what it really did was reveal her strength: the ability to see opportunity inside disruption. Within 3 months, other delivery startups were scrambling to buy e-bikes and copy her setup. But they missed the point. The bikes were only part of the story. The real edge was flexibility, a network that could reshape itself overnight. Wanda watched competitors chase what they thought was innovation while she refined the next layer. Data optimization for route clusters, shared charging stations, and local partnerships that cut storage rent in half. Regulation had done what pressure always does. It separated the reactive from the creative. And as the city skyline flickered through her office window that night, Wanda smiled at the irony. The rule meant to slow her down had turned into the engine that made her faster. Success attracts money. And in business, money never arrives quietly. A few months after the clean air shift, WandaCart's growth caught the attention of an investor group out of Chicago. Their proposal sounded generous. Expansion capital big enough to triple operations in a year. The kind of deal most startups dream about. But there was a catch. The funding came with territorial strings. In exchange for the money, the investors wanted exclusive rights to all deliveries across 2 major city zones. On paper, it looked efficient. Guaranteed access, faster growth, predictable revenue. But to Wanda, it sounded like a trap disguised as opportunity. She'd seen too many versions of that pattern before. Control wrapped in partnership. Dependence presented as growth. Business lesson: capital is never free. Every dollar comes with a direction, and every contract defines who holds the steering wheel. Wanda didn't reject the offer outright. She studied it, line by line. She built models late into the night. Best-case scenarios, worst-case outcomes, alternate paths. Theo left hours earlier, but she stayed, surrounded by glowing screens and quiet equations. The math was simple but revealing. The short-term revenue spike looked strong, but in 5 years, the deal would box WandaCart into a narrow corridor, unable to expand beyond its licensed borders without permission. Profit today, permission tomorrow. It wasn't worth it. Wanda leaned back, staring at the ceiling as the realization settled. Freedom was expensive, but once you gave it away, you could never buy it back. She sent her reply the next morning. Polite. Professional. Final. WandaCart would grow slower, but on its own terms. Business lesson: in strategy, optionality is value. The power to pivot tomorrow is often worth more than the profit you can lock in today. When she met with her team that afternoon, the atmosphere was mixed, relief from some, disappointment from others. Theo respected the decision. He'd watched her turn every obstacle into leverage. If she said the deal wasn't right, it wasn't. The company carried on, leaner but freer. And quietly, Wanda felt a deeper shift inside herself. She no longer measured success by investor interest or press mentions. She measured it by the space she still had to move. Outside, the city buzzed with traffic and deals she'd chosen not to chase. Wanda smiled, knowing she hadn't missed out, she'd opted out. Growth could wait. Control couldn't. 4 months, everything had been moving forward. The numbers were clean, the operations efficient, and the city had started to notice WandaCart as a quiet success story. Then one headline changed everything. A courier had been injured during a late-night delivery on the outskirts of town. A casual driver, new to the platform, lost control after a double shift. The story spread fast. By morning, it was everywhere. News anchors framed it as a symbol. A startup chasing profit at the expense of safety. A new face in an old debate. How far technology should go before it breaks the people who make it work. For the first time, Wanda felt what power really costs. Not money. Trust. Business lesson: reputation is the only asset that compounds faster than capital, and collapses just as fast when ignored. Within a day, hashtags trended. Commentators called for audits and regulations. Drivers demanded better pay structures and benefits. Even loyal merchants hesitated. Theo was anxious. Mara was calm. She said, "This is the moment we prove who we really are." And Wanda agreed. Instead of hiding behind legal statements or consultants, she opened everything. Payment models, rate algorithms, delivery logs, all made public on a single page. No filters, no spin. Just data and context. Then she did something no one expected. She invited every driver to vote on a new plan. Shared insurance. Flexible sick leave. A profit share pilot for those working full-time routes. Some called it reckless. Others called it the future. Business lesson: transparency isn't weakness, it's currency. In times of crisis, truth spends better than silence. The first few days were rough. Investors worried. Analysts questioned if the company had lost focus. But then the tone began to shift. Drivers posted messages of support. Local papers changed their headlines. A small ripple of trust started forming again, fragile but real. Wanda watched as new applications came in from couriers who said they'd left other platforms because of what she'd done. Not because of pay. Because of respect. She realized this wasn't about defending WandaCart's reputation anymore. It was about defining its culture. Business lesson. Growth builds attention. Integrity keeps it. The accident had exposed a flaw in the system, but it also forced the company to evolve faster than any funding round ever could. By the end of that month, WandaCart wasn't just a delivery platform anymore. It was a community in motion, imperfect, transparent, and finally human. And as Wanda closed her laptop one night, she whispered to herself the truth every founder eventually learns. Success isn't what people buy from you. It's what they believe about how you operate. Mara always looked for patterns. She said that if you watched data long enough, it eventually confessed. Weeks after the public backlash had settled, she noticed something strange. The city's delivery regulations and the rival platform's price updates seemed to move in perfect rhythm. Same days, same percentages, almost as if one triggered the other. At first, it looked like coincidence. Then the pattern repeated, again and again. She dug deeper, cross-referencing public contracts and financial filings. What she found stopped Wanda cold. The same consultancy that designed the rival's pricing algorithm also advised the city's mobility department on transport policy. Two sides of the same table. Private profit shaping public rules. Regulations that looked neutral but bent quietly toward one company's advantage. Business lesson. When influence replaces competition, the market stops rewarding efficiency and starts rewarding access. Wanda read the documents in silence. The conflict wasn't hidden. It was simply accepted. A quiet network of consultants and advisors linking city budgets to corporate strategy. Every policy adjustment had a twin effect, raising costs for everyone except the firm that wrote the algorithm. It explained everything. Why fuel permits favored certain routes, why city inspections skipped certain warehouses, why every new rule somehow punished small operators first. Mara called it the knot, the place where regulation and revenue were tied together so tightly that pulling one thread moved them both. Wanda felt the weight of it. This wasn't corruption in the old sense. It was coordination. Legal. Efficient. Invisible. She realized they could never beat it by playing fair on a tilted board. The only path forward was exposure. Business lesson. Transparency is the sharpest tool against structural power, but only if it cuts clean, without bias. Wanda and Mara spent nights assembling a report, every contract, every consulting invoice, every regulation that mirrored private interest. It wasn't just evidence. It was a map of how control actually worked. When they finished, Wanda looked over the pages spread across her desk. This was the heart of the invisible market. Not greed, not crime, design. A system built so elegantly that most people mistook it for normal. And as dawn broke over the skyline, Wanda understood what her next move had to be. She couldn't just build around this system anymore. She had to break the knot itself. The report was ready. Months of data, cross-references, and contracts, all mapped, verified, undeniable. It wasn't a leak. It was a mirror. Wanda didn't send it to regulators first. She sent it to journalists. And to civic technologists, people who built tools for the public, not profits. Within a week, headlines spread. Consultants tied to dual roles in public policy and private pricing. The city couldn't ignore it. Public hearings opened. Departments scrambled to explain how advisory firms had shaped both sides of the market. Wanda didn't appear in the news. She didn't need to. Her fingerprints were in the data, not the spotlight. Business lesson. Sometimes the strongest move isn't ownership, but openness. Transparency shifts power faster than competition ever could. Under pressure, the city released its permit and licensing data. What had once been hidden behind consultants' walls now streamed freely online. Routes, contracts, and access costs laid bare. The rival platform faltered. Without secrecy, its advantage shrank. Its algorithms no longer predicted prices ahead of regulation because everyone could now see the same numbers. Meanwhile, Wanda took the next step. She open-sourced portions of WandaCart's routing and pricing modules. Other small logistics firms could plug in, test, and improve them. Instead of guarding control, she multiplied it. Soon, independent couriers and small providers began forming a cooperative. They pooled route data, shared storage, and negotiated bulk fuel and charging rates. Together, they built what none of them could have built alone. Business lesson: when collaboration becomes infrastructure, the system evolves beyond competition. WandaCart changed in the process too. It wasn't the fastest anymore, or the cheapest, but it was trusted. It had become a platform built not on secrecy, but on resilience. Wanda stood once more at her office window, watching a fleet of bikes and small vans move through the city. No longer just hers, but everyone's. The skyline shimmered with motion, open and fair. Theo joined her quietly, looking at the new dashboard. It showed routes, data nodes, and community partnerships instead of market share. He smiled. "You gave away part of the code," he said. Wanda nodded. "Not gave away," she replied softly. "Set it free." Business lesson: markets don't fail because of greed. They fail when control becomes invisible. The cure isn't regulation, it's participation. As evening light stretched across the city, WandaCart servers hummed, a network now transparent, shared, alive. The invisible market she once tried to navigate was no longer invisible at all. She had broken the knot, and in doing so, had unbound herself from it. The story didn't end in victory. It ended in clarity. And sometimes, that's the most powerful outcome of all. Months later, Wanda walked through the same transit hub where it had all begun. The morning rush sounded different now. Quieter somehow, lighter. The kiosk's espresso was cheaper again. The barista saw her and waved, smiling as if nothing extraordinary had ever happened. But everything had changed. The prices weren't random anymore. Competition had returned. Rules were clearer. And people, without realizing it, were benefiting from a market made just a little more honest. WandaCart wasn't a lone disruptor now. It was part of something broader. A network of cooperatives, small couriers, and civic developers all sharing routes, data, and purpose. No headlines. No speeches. Just quiet systems, working fairly in the background of daily life. Business lesson: the true measure of innovation isn't how loudly it changes the world, but how naturally it fits once the world adjusts. As Wanda sipped her coffee, she watched the movement outside. Bikes, vans, buses, all flowing in rhythm. Not owned. Not controlled. Just moving together. And for the first time in years, she felt the market breathe again.